First, in regards to the family, I think everyone is doing relatively fine considering the new definition of norm.
Mhm.
But my kids are doing great, staying in touch and so forth. Business wise, I feel blessed far better than probably most or many. Our business is not shut down. Events that give us work have become a little bit more frequent there. And of course, the applying disinfectant with our fogging systems, we've had many commercial clients calling us on to provide services for that. So we probably have 70 or 80 men on the West Coast that are capable with proper PPE applying this disinfectant product. It's not a, it doesn't replace your janitorial services, but it does get the areas that janitors don't. So that's been rather busy, you might say, and we perceive that will be kicking up. And will that be sufficient revenue to offset that revenue that we have lost in this downturn? It probably won't offset it, but it makes it more palatable. I've been in the restoration disaster emergency service business for my whole career. I got in it when I was 22, so I know nothing else. I went through the riots in, I think it was 92 in LA. I went through the 2004, I'm sorry, not 2004, 1994 earthquake in Northridge. Prior to that, the 92 quake in Whittier, the mudslides in Malibu, the storms in Palos Verdes in 1982. There has been a lot of mostly weather and earthquake events that we've responded to. This one's unique. This one is something that was not an event, it's a continuation. And whereas the other ones were focused on much more of how do we help um, the immediate need once we get the triage of making the stability of a structure, then we go into the more of a long term in the rebuild. Now all of a sudden we have a situation where it's not an event and it hasn't affected a structure that we visually can ascertain what the damage is. The emotions are similar, but the action's different. We do approximately 450 to 500 projects a month. We get called on new projects, and these projects are between 2,000 and millions, in which there's a water loss or a fire damage. That's what we do. So 500 of those events a month we do on the West Coast in our 14 offices. Well, now what we've done is we've taken our technicians that are used to drying buildings down, who are very used to working in PPE, very used to working with asbestos abatement and things of that nature. And we now have repurposed their abilities so that we can apply this disinfectant with being completely suited up and so forth. So that has afforded us to keep our people busy, providing a service that the community really needs, that our clients really need, and has diluted the carnage of layoffs and people not being able to work and so forth. So I feel grateful that we're able to help, and I feel grateful that we're able to keep our people employed. We have not had to quote lay off anybody yet, although how they're working and i.e. from their home looks differently than how they worked prior to this situation. Well, let's talk about this one here. This one here is very much on our mind. Anyone who leads a business, just by the sheer responsibility that they have of employees looking to them, have to recognize or should recognize the responsibilities that they have with so many people, livelihood relying on their decisions. And the responsibility of that, the weight of that bill is nothing that you want to take lightly. Trying to discern little things like, do you pay someone full time for going home and working from home in which their efficiency is 60% or 50%. Um, yes, the federal government, we expect that will soon give us green light to support PTO and things of this nature that will make those questions easier. Um, but there is a great deal of expenses that may not or probably won't be able to be quantified and recouped. Um, so how do you make those decisions so that you can love on your team and make decisions in such a way that they will look positively on your behavior as a boss so that it doesn't look poorly on what you advocate being a Christian in the workplace? You know, every time I make a decision, um, it's based upon, am I honoring God in that decision? And I would argue that regardless if it's good news, tough news, bad news, if I am wise in the way that I communicate that, the end result should be as the recipient of on the other side of that conversation should look at me still as a godly man. Um, that's our responsibility. And I think crises just cause it to be ever more um, heightened to make sure that you handle that properly. Um, we are so far we're blessed. I've kept 100% of the people busy, uh, full pay. But little things like I need work done, and I have people that have runny noses, and if I send them home, it's going to affect the workload of others. But I need to protect the others that are working, and making those decisions every day, and making the right choices. The only way you can have clarity on that is to be grounded in prayer and say, Lord, give me the wisdom, give me the strength. Do not be bashful in showing compassion and caring to your employees. Do not be bashful. The one, um, I think, one of the benefits of leading in a crisis is people want to be led. People want to feel cared for. People want to know that their superiors, their employers, um, are not just there because they're trying to maximize the financial bottom line. So it gives you a great opportunity to live out what you have been overtly stating your faith is in real time. You know, so you said examples. What? Give me an example of how I do that. Yesterday, I had um, I don't want to use names, but yesterday I had a person come in my office that it was obvious they were trying to hold it together, but somewhere in there I could tell that they were having a personal difficult time. So I do something where I say, okay, I'm going to put my Uncle Jim hat on. So I said, come on in, sit down, let's talk about it. Let's go on. Let's put what the issue about business aside. We'll get it done. Don't worry about it. Right now, focus, what is going on with you? I'm going to call this person Jane. Jane, what is going on in your life right now that we can help? Well, it comes out that it has to do with her kids. It has to do with her fear for her kids. And it was really nothing that we could, quote, do, but it was more giving her an ear. I probably got closer to Jane in that moment, and she had worked for me. She's worked for me already for, let's say, 4 years, than I've ever had. And I got to tell you, if it wasn't for the crisis, I wouldn't have that opportunity. By the way, still as a boss, I expect high level performance. There is KPIs that I don't compromise on, and I am not one that anybody would accuse me of being conflict avoidant. But when I put that Uncle Jim hat on, I try to overtly shift gears in a way that it's not that I'm a different person. It's that it's very clear where my priorities are. And my priorities are not my business. My priorities are being a fellow human being, that I care for you. And I want to sincerely know, what can I do, or even if it's just lending you an ear, to assist you in your situation. Since I've been through multiple crises and that's my business, I don't know if it was because I was born with it or it's something that has become a learned behavior, but I can get very surgically focused on certain tactical things that need to be done. And I get consumed in that. And in doing so, um, I just get crystal clear what needs to be done. You know, right now, first thing that happened was, do we have enough disinfecting product? Do we have enough equipment? What do we need? What kind of um, PPE are we short on? Are my uh, client development teams communicating properly? You know, I go into this strategic and tactical um, parts of my role. I guess I'm probably going on a little bit of a tangent, but I've been blessed with that ability. It puts it thwarts any remote chance of having time to focus on fear. It puts away these emotions that I think I run risk of feeling if I didn't have so much on my plate to focus on what could and can and needs to be done. In my corporate office, we have approximately 70 admin support. Um, the G&A machine is about 70 people. Um, Constantly trying to figure out which ones need to work at home because it's appropriate and it removes the closeness of everybody, and which ones need to work from home because they're fighting this fear that precludes them to feeling comfortable in the work environment. Um, so you take the insight as well as the clinical reality that you need to take 2/3 of the people and have them work at home. You look at the human side of it and say, how can I make it more comfortable on my people? How can I um, get a win out of this for them? And you ultimately find out it's a win-win, that there's the way you decide who has permission or who are you going to ask to work at home is directly related to not just what they do and not just where they sit, but what's going to make them feel more comfortable. I just like to leave everybody with recognizing that this is an opportunity. So often we as leaders um, don't lean in with our faith as much in the workplace as we could. This is an opportunity that people are so open to hearing about the faith, whether they're an atheist, whether they're agnostic, whether they've been, caustically hurt by the brokenness of the way someone that they perceived was in the church hurt him in the past. I mean, we have opportunity to have this discussion. And as busy as we get, as hectic as it is with us dealing with the disaster, don't lose sight of the importance of these God-inspired opportunities that we have with our employees to be able to maybe encroach past that line that we all may be a little more fearful of doing in a typical working environment. We have that opportunity now. And I just encourage everybody to please take advantage of it. And in my prayer in the morning, I ask the Holy Spirit to give me an opportunity, one a day. That's all I ask. He does.